Let me ask you something. When was the last time someone told you you were strong? Not tough, not fine, not you'll get through it. Actually strong. Probably not recently, maybe never. Because here's the thing about mentally strong people. They're usually the last ones to see it in themselves. They're too busy carrying things, too busy showing up, too busy surviving to stop and realize what surviving actually takes. So this video is not about becoming mentally strong. It's about showing you that you already are. These are 6 of the most common signs, and there are many more. But if even a few of these feel familiar, pay attention, because your brain has been lying to you about how weak you are. Sign 1. You feel everything deeply, but you don't let it stop you. You're not numb. You never were. You feel the anxiety before difficult conversations. You feel the weight of other people's pain as if it were your own. You feel disappointment more deeply than you let anyone see. And you feel joy when it comes with your whole chest. And yet, you still make the call. You still show up. You still move forward even when everything inside you is asking you to stop. Psychologists call this emotion regulation, the ability to fully experience an emotion without being permanently controlled by it. A landmark study by James Gross at Stanford University found that people with strong emotion regulation show greater resilience, better relationships, and significantly higher life satisfaction than those who either suppress or are overwhelmed by feelings. You were never too sensitive. You were carrying more than most people could handle and moving anyway. That's not weakness dressed up. That's one of the rarest forms of strength that exists. Sign 2. You've survived things you never thought you could. There was a moment, maybe more than one, where you genuinely weren't sure you were going to make it through. Not dramatically, just quietly. A version of you that sat alone somewhere and didn't know how the next week was going to look. And then you got through it. Not perfectly, not without damage, but through it. Psychologists call this post-traumatic growth, the measurable psychological development that happens not despite adversity, but because of it. Research by Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun at the University of North Carolina found that people who survive significant hardship often develop deeper empathy, a clearer sense of what matters, and a quiet confidence that nothing can fully take from them, because they already know they can survive hard things. You know that now too, even if you forget it on the bad days. You've already proven it. Sign 3. You keep showing up even when you're exhausted. Nobody sees this one. That's what makes it so significant. The days you got up when staying down would have been easier. The commitments you kept when every part of you wanted to cancel. The effort you gave when you had nothing left to give, and you gave it anyway. Not for applause, not because anyone was watching, just because something in you refuses to stop. Research on mental toughness by psychologist Angela Duckworth at the University of Pennsylvania identified this quality, she called it grit, as a stronger predictor of long-term success than talent, intelligence, or circumstance. Grit is not glamorous. It doesn't look like a motivational poster. It looks like you on a Tuesday, tired, doing it anyway. Sign 4. You don't need anyone's approval to keep going. You used to. Maybe you still do sometimes. That's human. But somewhere along the way, you started making decisions based on what you actually believed was right. Not what would make everyone comfortable, not what would get the most approval, not what was easiest to explain. Psychologists call this internal locus of control, the belief that your life is guided by your own choices rather than external validation. You don't need a standing ovation to know your own worth. That quiet self-trust, even when it's fragile, even when it wavers, is one of the most powerful things a person can build. Sign 5. You've walked away from what was draining you. This one took courage that most people will never fully understand. A friendship that left you emptier than before, a situation that was slowly shrinking you, a version of your life that looked fine from the outside, but felt wrong every single day. And you left, not explosively, not with a dramatic exit, just quietly, deliberately, choosing yourself even when it felt like a loss. Research on psychological boundaries published in the Journal of Counseling Psychology found that people who establish and maintain clear personal boundaries experience significantly lower levels of chronic stress, higher self-esteem, and greater overall life satisfaction. Walking away is not giving up. It's understanding that your energy is not infinite, and choosing where it goes is one of the most intelligent decisions a person can make. Sign 6. You can admit when you're wrong. This is the one people underestimate the most. In a world that rewards confidence and punishes vulnerability, being able to look at someone and say, "I was wrong about that," or "I didn't handle that well," or "I'm sorry, I could have done better," that takes more strength than most people will ever admit. Because the ego fights it loudly, consistently. It tells you that admitting fault means admitting weakness, but psychology says the opposite. Research by Carol Dweck at Stanford University on growth mindset found that people who can acknowledge their mistakes without collapsing into shame show dramatically higher rates of personal growth, stronger relationships, and greater long-term psychological well-being than those who protect their ego at all costs. Admitting you were wrong doesn't make you weak. It means you care more about truth than about appearance. That's not a small thing. That's character. These are 6 signs, but they are not the only 6. Mental strength shows up in 100 quiet ways that nobody gives you credit for. In the texts you answered when you didn't have the energy, in the tears you shed privately so nobody else would carry your weight, in the days you chose hope when the evidence wasn't there yet. Mental strength was never about being unbreakable. It was always about breaking and deciding quietly to come back anyway. You've done that more times than you realize, more times than anyone knows. And that makes you stronger than you think. Which of these 6 signs surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to know. And if this made you see yourself differently today, hit subscribe. We break down the psychology that actually explains you.